So, welcome everyone to the first edition of our Revo Hub monthly musing podcast, bit of a mouthful. Today we're joined by Rebecca Morter, founder and CEO of Lone Design Club, myself, Kayley Buxton, and
Matilda Farmer from Lunson, Mitchenall.
So, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Exciting.
We're looking to discuss AI and technology and how this is assisting in reducing vacancies within the retail sector.
Amazing.
So, we'd love to kick off by you sharing with us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, of course. So, Lone Design Club, essentially we are a plug-and-play retail platform for direct-to-consumer brands and commercial property landlords. I guess our kind of overall mission is how can we get more amazing digital brands into physical spaces. And over the past 5 years, we've been working to kind of bridge the gap between social media, e-commerce grown, amazing brands that are selling online, but really need to integrate physical retail to superpower the growth of their business, to be able to get in front of customers, to do things like decreasing returns, to building meaningful relationships, to increasing the engagement, lifetime value, and loyalty of their customer base, as well as attracting new customers that want to see, touch, feel, and try the products before they buy. So really for us, it's about how can we build this omni-channel out for any brand, anywhere in the world, democratizing access to the high streets, to these amazing shopping centers and retail spaces. And what's super important here is how can we help landlords and property estates better understand which brands, which product categories and price points, which of these brands could be their future tenants. And I guess more than this is the customer shopping behavior and insights. We've activated over 100 spaces now, and it's been fascinating to see the customer behavior evolve as the shopper starts to use online to discover, but then convert in store, to use the high street to discover, but convert online. And this movement between the physical and digital worlds, this blur, this omni-channel that we're seeing, is such a powerful tool for brands if they get it right. And I think from the landlord perspective, bringing in independent, sustainable, new brands is a huge challenge. So how can we use our technology to help them better understand which brands will be the right future tenants, who's the right fit, and who are the future shoppers? So, what is it that the Gen Z customer really wants? What does the millennial shopper want? And how are they interacting with the physical space? What do they need to know and to learn to be able to build their retail strategies over the next 3 to 5 years?
Amazing, thank you. So what do you think should be a top priority for the real estate industry in 2023 and why?
Top priority. I think the big thing here is we're going through, I feel like I always say this, we launched the business literally before COVID, so it's constantly, we're going through such a change, evolution, 5 years of evolution. But I guess it says more about me being impatient than actually the industry. The acceleration of change is amazing. It's so exciting, but it is also super challenging. And I think we're in a period now coming out of COVID where we've realized, retail's not dead, which was the huge kind of topic of the big discussion topic, controversial topic during COVID, but actually there's a space for it, a really important space. But brands and landlords need to get it right to be able to move with what the shopper wants. I think the big thing here is that we've moved away from the ages where media, stores, publications controlled what it was that we shopped and why and where from and how. And with social media, the consumer is very much king. We're all behaving as much more individuals. We're using our voices. And I think because of this, the customer is really dictating where they want to play and why. And a brand and a landlord needs to really understand the end user better than they ever have before. And they don't. And that's what we're finding, is that there's a massive disparity between property estate asset managers and then the brands that are social media and digitally grown that will be future tenants. There's this huge divide and gap where neither side speaks the same language. And a lot of the work we do at LDC is how can we better help both sides communicate and understand what each other needs. It all comes down to the end consumer. What does that shopper want from their high street experience? And what we're seeing is very much that retail's role is about experience. It's about community and storytelling. And it's not about transactions. And I think the interesting thing here is, yes, of course, we want sales to be increasing, and each store has their own KPIs. But ultimately, we need to be looking at a more 360 view of how does that one retail space work with other retail spaces a brand might have, and what does that mean for the shopper's journey and their lifetime value when it comes to how they behave online. Because, and I think these are a couple of really amazing stats. Shopify released a report, I think it was earlier this year, and I think it's something like 54% of shoppers will start their journey online but convert in store. 52% will start their journey in store to discover, but they'll buy online. And really what this is telling us is we can't keep treating these channels singularly or individually. An omni-channel customer is 3 times more valuable than a single channel customer. It's early days, right? We have a long way to go. But I think the big thing here is that we need to be looking and responding to our customers. We need the data to really know what they want, and we need to stop looking at the general data. We need to be super specific and be speaking to those consumers. Because in a time of turbulence and uncertainty and volatility right now, we need to go straight to the horse's mouth and know what it is they want and how can we build an experience around that.
Definitely. And I think especially during COVID, we had a long time where we were cooped in, we couldn't go out, and now consumers do want to go out, they do want to shop and get the whole experience. Rather than just looking online. They want to be interacting with store assistants, I know when I came into the one in the Crown Estate, there was lots of different things you could do within the store, lots of aesthetic things, lots of Instagram, things that you can take photos of. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing that we've seen is that, the goal of a retail store, and it's actually amazing, we're now being asked, which I think is so good, for so long we've always attached sales-focused financial KPIs on the success of a retail space. Yeah. And really, if you look at it, we only do this to retail. We don't do it online. Like, we look at digital marketing, and brands are happy to spend thousands, millions on Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot, Google shopping ads. And you may not get the financial return, but they will be happy when they see the reach or the impressions or something. Why do we not look at retail and put the same metrics that go past sales? If you're building a retail space, it doesn't have to just be about how many products can we sell. It could be about testing a new product, gaining feedback, exposure, those learnings. It should be more than just associating a sales price tag, because there are lots of brands that sell so well online that you need a physical space to send your customers to, as you were saying, move around a space, Instagram, engage digitally, share things with your friends, something gamified, something deeper and more immersive than just a transaction. And if we're looking at it in that way, we should be looking at dwell times. We should be looking at footfall into a space. We should then be looking at what does that customer do when they've been to the space. Do they then go online and shop 2 days later? Do they actually return to the retail space 3 days later? What are the behaviors? Because what we're finding is when we dig into the data is those attributes are stronger than just a single transaction, because actually a customer that comes into a space, engages and spends time, we find they tend to come back, they tend to bring friends, they then tend to actually shop online more frequently and regularly. So actually that's more valuable, even though they didn't purchase the first time in that retail store. And I think we need to get better as an industry at understanding retail's role and I think readjusting our KPIs and objectives of the retail space.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going back to your point earlier, I am a sucker for doing both, of shopping online, then going in store, or seeing it online and then being like, I can get this cheaper somewhere else, let me have a little bit of a browse. So
there you go.
And I don't know which is better. I don't know which one's proven more fruitful, but I try both.
That's the thing, and it's not the one is better or not. The point is, like, as a customer, you're so digital. I mean, you're reasonably young, right? I'm assuming you're like Gen Z millennial. So you've grown up with technology. So for you, it's so fluid to flip between the channels. And I think that's the big thing here is there's no right or wrong. It's just that's the world we live in now. And brands need to get on board and landlords need to get on board.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for that. So following on quite nicely, what do you think can be done to help encourage the integration of technology into retail?
I mean, I think really a lot of it starts with really understanding the omni-channel. I think, so I have technology in retail for so long has been so gimmicky. for years I've had a problem with it. You know, I know Browns had these like eggs that you could go in and it like talks to you. The fitting room is like an egg and it talks to you. It is pointless. There are smart mirrors that tell you about a product. I don't care. I need a human experience. You know, if you can't do better than a human experience, don't bother, because customers won't adopt it. I think, but I do think where we're seeing the power of it is more from, I think, the back end at the moment. One of the things that we've been focusing on at Loan Design Club is how can we help brands and landlords better understand, collect the data, but then understand the data, better understand it across the relationship a shopper has to the physical and digital worlds. So being able to build a 360-degree view over the customer's journey and their shopping behavior. And I think that's where we've seen huge demand in brands that have an established physical presence that don't have a connection between their, don't have a seamless integration across their, you know, the footfall to what is their online traction, to where is the shopper spending their money, to where is the AOV increased in store, is it online, to how many times is that customer coming in. And I think being able to better understand the data and analytics of that back end is super key. So really being able to, I think that kind of omni-channel technology is where I see things going. I mean, I'm probably biased because I'm building it and we have it, and it's what we're, you know, a lot of our clients are using. But it's fascinating learning so much from brands and landlords, and also seeing where there are gaps and missing. And I think one of the advantages that we have is because we operate on the brand side and the customer side and the landlord side, we're able to learn and understand exactly what each of those customers needs to know, which puts us in quite a unique position. Much harder being B2B2C, but as a business, but you know, much more interesting. And it means the data and insights are super granular, and they're really at the forefront of retail. I think aside from omni-channel, it's AI, and we've been doing a lot of research into this, and I think honestly, personalization. You know, AI very much is about personalization and curation, and it's about learning what a shopper needs in an extremely saturated world. What is it that person wants to see? If they're browsing on, I don't know, a brand's website, they don't want to be, and it's a woman in her 20s, she doesn't want to be shown men's boxer shorts. And this is the problem, is there's so much disparity at the moment between true personalization and true, you know, curating products that actually fit and that are relevant. So I think using technology for relevancy, for curation and personalization, so that experience is seamless. And I think we're going to see that come through into the omni-channel more and more as we start to see shoppers becoming or having more personalized experiences online with a brand, and how that translates when they walk into a store.
You've covered quite a bit of it, but our next question is, how do you anticipate the role of AI and technology evolving in the efforts to utilise vacant retail units in the coming years? I know that you've filled units on vacant high streets, you've looked at shopping centres as well, and I know that you've also used the vinyls and have interacted with vinyls as well, so can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah, I think a big thing here, and I'm gonna start with the root of this idea of matchmaking. Sometimes we look at our platform, so there's a part of the LDC platform for brands, and essentially what it does, we work with about 1,000 brands, and it's about matchmaking the brand to a location, essentially based on AI. So what's happening is brands are tagged with various criteria points and locations as we upload new spaces. We activate probably 2 to 5 locations a month, not a week. God, my team. They're probably listening. Alice is listening to that right now and thinking, Jesus Christ, what's she about to ask us to do next? Probably having kittens. No, a month. So it's a lot of pop-ups that we're launching, and they're all over London, the UK, Italy, China. Got everywhere. And we're expanding to France later, the Middle East, US. So there's a lot of them. So it's so important when you're working with thousands of brands to make sure that the brands are being recommended a relevant site. There's no point putting a very East London, cool kind of Shoreditch brand, somewhere that is in Mayfair or on Bond Street when they're super edgy and it's an irrelevant customer. So it's really important to be able to match make brands to locations. And the way we do it is looking at things like seasonality. We use a lot of our historic data So it's going back through the 100 or so activations that we've done. And essentially, we can now, with AI, tell which brands performed best in what locations and where does that particular brand fit when it comes to aesthetic, price point, alignment, customer demographic. So we can get much smarter with that matchmaking. It's kind of like dating, I guess, brand and landlord. Our big goal is the brands are plugging into these pop-up retail locations, and after 3 to 4 in one location, they'll look at taking their own space. And this is where we're at now, is that incubation, that confidence building process, that matchmaking. So that's super exciting. And we're seeing a massive use case for that when it comes to AI. But that really goes again down to relevancy and personalization. It's really about, we're in a world of so saturated, there's so much noise, we're trying to filter through it. How can we kind of cut through that to give somebody relevant information that's useful that they need? I will caveat that and say my biggest challenge with AI and with personalization comes, what about a wild card? What happens if I want to be wowed and I want to see something that I don't normally want to see?
Yeah.
And this is something that we talk about a lot internally at LDC, and I talk, anyone I speak to when it comes to AI, and especially the technology side of the business when we're looking at building things or doing things, is, but how do we not destroy the element of surprise?
Yeah.
And that's for the customer and the brand, because sometimes you just want to do something you wouldn't normally do, right? And that's where you learn about yourself. And I think that's something that I'm really interested in, is how do we do this but maintain I guess a controlled element of surprise.
Yeah.
I like that, and I agree. I like to be surprised because it's so many high streets just look exactly the same, and it's nice to walk along and be like, oh, I haven't seen that before. Let me pop in and explore. I really like that. I really do. So on from that, can you offer any recommendations or best practices for property owners and managers looking to incorporate AI and technology into their leasing and tenant acquisition strategies?
Great question. So I think a big one is, and I'm going to try and do this so I'm not pitching my own business, because I feel like, I'm doing
You can a bit if you want to.
I'm going to have to a little bit because I know it really well. I'm going to try and also think of other things that can be done that doesn't mean you have to come and work with LDC. Obviously, please do, but, but I guess the first thing that comes to mind that we do at LDC, which I think plays into this, is I think there's a huge challenge when it comes to voids of vacant units that are vinyl wrapped with leasing details. I personally hate them, and I think they're the most boring thing on the planet, and I think it's such a shame when I see a vacant unit, whether it's a great location or a crap location, it doesn't matter, but it's covered in the most dullest artwork, vinyl artwork ever, and it just says tenant or leasing details, and I just think it's such a missed opportunity. You might not get a huge amount of interaction, but anything is better than nothing, especially when the costs are literally the same. And I think what we've found is there's so much innovation, data, technology out there. We've got to get smarter with where we're collecting it and what we're learning. And I guess on that note, one of the things we do at Loan Design Club to kind of challenge this is the window activation. So the technology enabled window activations that we do. Essentially all we're doing is either staging a window using QR code and some hardware tech to track interaction with the windows, or it's pure play vinyl. And all it is just getting one of our super creative team members to design an exciting concept that builds into the larger strategy of the property estate, whether it could be, sustainable brands, it could be engaging customers. But what we've seen is if you can offer an incentive, so some kind of competition or something that excites people a little bit. I mean, who doesn't love a freebie? Who doesn't love the potential to, win I think we did one recently with the Huddle estate. It's just gone live, and I'm going to go down and sign up myself because I want to win a night stay at the Marylebone Hotel worth £795.
Me too. After this, we'll go together.
We'll go. And it's such a great prize. I would love, I can't think of anything better than just having an amazing, I mean, I can't win it, so I'm going to have to find an alias or something.
We can share.
The three of us just go down to the party at the moment. But I think that's exciting. And it's also that community spirit. So you're involving local businesses.
Yeah.
You're keeping the money within, within the community locally. But it gives people the chance to be part of something. Yes, they have to fill out a little survey. It's 3 minutes. It's not going to ruin your day, And I think people are willing to do that when they feel like they can be a bit more part of something and it's exciting. We've seen some amazing results on some of these windows. I mean, we've got one that's still going. It's on its second phase now in Liverpool, and it's with Grosvenor, and it's been a Liverpool one. It's been so fascinating. Some of the responses where you just don't expect it. And I think one of them that's been amazing, a big learning is around, I think you kind of already know these, but it's nice to get the validation. I think that's it. But one of the questions was where do you look for, where do you kind of look to discover new brands and products? Bearing in mind, this was back in November last year that started. So this is almost a year in. And the highest response was the shops. And now, obviously, we talk about all the time, and I keep talking about it purely because the stat, I'm like, that's amazing. But back in November, it was that's interesting. It's not, we're not, I feel like everyone knows that, but having that validated by, 600 or so customers that have all said, and it's something, I don't know, it was something like, it was the highest ranking result, is really interesting and good. And I think it gives the property estate, it gives everyone that validation from the customer directly, what they want and what they need. The other thing that was super fascinating was, it was something like how important is entertainment and the experiences that we're creating in Liverpool One? And the highest result was the response was 80% of people said it's the most important reason they come. And I thought that was super fascinating, because a lot of the conversations we have at the moment with property landlords are, driving, FOMO, driving excitement, traffic, engagement to centres, curation. But everyone's still kind of talking about it, not really doing it.
Yeah.
And the fact that the customers are literally saying, that's why we come here, is okay, come on, we've got to get serious.
100%. And working on the landlord side as well, we're always talking about dwell time when we're approaching tenants, etc. And those experiences are going to make people stay longer. And that's what you want.
And I think people have been saying it for years, though, haven't they? I know, well, my mum's been in the industry for a while, it's not anymore, but they're talking about experiences for ages in shopping centres, and it was never really, it was discussed, it was raised as from the customers, but no one ever really did anything about it. And now it's that crave of, when I go out, I want to stay and have a meal, I want to maybe go and have a drink with friends, I might want to do axe throwing, I don't know.
Exactly.
And now it's becoming more of a norm and a requirement. So it's nice to see that it's changing, because it is what you want. I mean, I want it.
Exactly, but I think you've just hit the nail on the head of something super important, is we can't, what is the point waiting 10 years down the line to then be oh, we've been saying that for 10 years.
Why don't we do it?
We've got to get smarter, right? We've got to get closer to our customer, learn from them, but we've got to then execute and action faster. I think those are the property landlords and brands that can do that are more agile, more reactive, are more innovative and open to trying things and listening to their customers. Nobody listens. Just literally speaking to customers, I think those are the landlords that are going to win. And seriously across the next few years, because we're in a crap time right now. Things are super tough, but they will get better, and they're going to. And if you're not ahead of the game, if you don't have the data, you don't have the brand pipeline ready, you're not incubating, you're not understanding the customer, you don't have the experiences tried and tested, you're going to be left behind.
Agreed.
Leading on to the next question, what do you see as the biggest threat with the rise of AI in our industry?
I mean, I guess I don't know if it's much of a threat, but it's probably, as I touched on, do we lose the element of surprise or the ability to kind of be wowed and discover? I think that's probably where I know the most. But I would say, I don't want us to get to a world where it's too many. You mentioned it before, the copy paste high streets, the same stores, where we've been through that and we've seen it, and now we're going through a time of change with young, new, exciting brands, concepts are emerging. What I would say is we don't want to get to that point where it kind of goes full circle and we come back to that kind of copy paste
innovation. Yeah,
exactly. I think also with AI, there's a lot of challenges. There's so much still around. I think the problem is it's just so new. And I was at a conference the other week, a retail conference. There's amazing things happening, but at the moment it does still feel like personalization. It doesn't feel like it's matured enough. And I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be around IP, the legal side, who owns what. So I would say the element of surprise, because I don't know enough around it, but the threats when it comes to legals, customer data, who owns what's GDPR compliant and what's not, I think that's where there's going to be a lot of challenges, and we're going to see a lot of back and forth. But I think it's also probably too soon to know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, AI seemed to just appear at the start of this year.
Yeah.
I know it's been tinkering away in the background, all these massive organisations.
Well, when ChatGPT came out, basically it was like, AI? Oh yeah.
Who needs to write a degree anymore?
Yeah, I don't need to know English or be able to write. This is fantastic. I know, so it's a bit scary.
Is
but
this why you didn't send me the questions ahead of time?
And we'll never know if that's what you did. No.
I didn't get the questions, so
Yeah.
it's not possible. Unless I need like a ChatGPT right here, right now, just like talk for me, and just like telling me what to say.
Love it. Okay, so going a little bit different here, but who are your role models within the real estate industry and why?
Ooh,
Real estate and tech industry.
Okay, who do I admire in the industry? I mean, first of all, I also find this question hard because I get asked a lot, if there's anybody that you could have as a customer for the Loan Design Club, who would it be?
Nice.
And I don't like that question because I don't want to build a business that's specifically for people. And I know that's not what the question means, but I want to build a business that I'd rather see everybody with Loan Design Club shopping bags as opposed to just a few kind of niche people. And I know that's maybe a kind of loaded answer or like not the best answer, but I would just rather, with Loan Design Club, we're trying to build a business that any brand can use anywhere in the world, and customers can shop from. So walking down the street and seeing a whole bunch of people having Loan Design Club bags, that I think is probably, I would take that much more and be so proud and excited rather than seeing one particular person. In terms of like people I look up to, I mean, this is also difficult, but I love the initial mission and then the journey that Yvon Chouinard of Patagonia has taken. I mean, he's an incredibly inspiring person. Obviously, controversial challenges with the business at the moment, but ultimately what he did and what he set out to do, and that he's kept not only an incredible work culture, but also a amazing focus on sustainability and being good for the planet and the love for doing good, I think is really admirable. And I think it's something that when I meet a lot of businesses, it's really tough, right? Like, ultimately we're building businesses for people, knowing them, understanding them, and being passionate about actually solving a problem for those people and adding value to their lives. That's what I love. And that's so important. But it's also hard, and it's also, you get it wrong sometimes. But ultimately, I think Yvon, what they've done is amazing, and what they've built with all the odds against is super fascinating.
Cool. Right, our last question, you'll probably be pleased to know. We've got a big bowl of
This is an
biscuits
easy
in
one,
front
right?
of us. So we'll dig into those. It's what keeps you up at night and why?
Oh, what keeps me up at night? You really should have sent these ahead of time. This is a good question. Interestingly, lately, I've been sleeping like a log, which is really
Amazing.
nice. It's because I think I'm just so knackered. Usually what keeps me up at night is, I deal with all, like, the same problems I think everyone goes through. Imposter syndrome. Am I making the right decisions? Are we doing the right thing? Are we listening to our customers enough? Are we showing real value? How do I properly help this property estate? How do I deliver value? All the questions I think we all go through, the worry, the concern, how do I solve this problem? I think really, like, we're at a stage with LDC right now where things are amazing. We're growing 100% year on year, totally organically. Yeah. We're moving much more into the technology space as we build out our SaaS platform. And it's great and it's so exciting, but it's terrifying. And I'll always remember being told, I always remember when I first started out, I was like, oh my God, when I, like, you know, as we grow the team, employ people, the business gets bigger, it's just gonna be great. Like, I'm gonna have other people that will, like, you know, that can do things that are, you know, that are trusted. They'll be so much better than me in every way. I'll be able to kind of like listen and learn from them, and, you know, my job's gonna get easier. It's absolute rubbish. It gets harder. The bigger, you know, the bigger the team, the more people, the bigger you grow, the more that's at stake, the more challenges, the more decisions, everything just gets bigger. But I am lucky, and the one thing that is good is I do have people around me that are absolutely amazing, and I'm very much, I love a consensus. I always make a decision based on advice and conversation, not too much to hinder anything, but I love bringing people and working with people that are so much better than me in certain ways that I can trust, and I can take their thoughts and opinions and then make a decision informed based on that. But it's still stressful. It's really, really stressful. And I think a big thing that we're going through at the moment, which it sounds like a lot of other people are purely because of the time we're in, is we've been so reactive for so long. We've had no choice. You know, the market has been insane. Coming out of COVID, then it's the Ukrainian war, then we've got inflation, then we've got energy crisis. It's just one thing after another. You can't get ahead. You can't be proactive because you can't predict patterns. Nothing, there's no rhyme or reason to what's happening anymore. The volatility is insane. And because of that, you know, you're trying constantly. When you're running a business, you can't react. You can, but you need an element of proactivity. I think that's the biggest thing right now, is just trying to be so proactive in an environment that doesn't really allow for it, because everything is so reactive still as we work out what the new normal, what the future for retail really looks like.
Amazing.
Great. That was great. I learned a lot.
That's
for
true.
sure.
Perfect.
No, that was brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
And what time does the competition close on the hotel?
Should we
It's my
go
last
now?
question. Yeah.
Go now. I
Yeah.
think there's a bit of time, but like the session
Yeah.
just go
I
now.
mean, we got 8 minutes, so I think we
What
can make it
entries we
happen.
put in there.
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
No, thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca. That's been fantastic, and we hope to speak to you again sometime soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.